দর্শক স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি নিটল টাটা মুখোমুখিতে। আমরা গত পর্বে কথা বলছিলাম ড্রাউনিং প্রিভেনশন নিয়ে। এই পর্বেও আমরা এই বিষয়টি নিয়ে কথা বলবো এবং সিনারগোজের প্রোগ্রাম পরিচালক চং লিম লি আমাদের সাথে আছে। ওয়েলকাম টু দ্য শো once again. As we've been discussing the last episode, a lot of these issues, but I'd really like to know that how you work with so many people. Is it in the policy level, or in the implementation level, or strategy making level?
Synergos works actually across all those levels, but not as an implementer.
Okay.
So we do not necessarily draft the policy, but we work with the policymakers. We do not do the implementation.
So you take suggestions from different parts and you put it together?
Right. So we bring people together around solutions, and we create the solution space. And all those people, whether you're an implementer, a policymaker, we help provide the strategy for coming together around the solution space and advancing together what's needed in order to address the complex issues. And we really work on complex issues. We're not the organization for distributing products or funds necessarily. We work on issues where there are multiple people who are involved. Issues the implementation execution is dynamic, and it's not sufficient for just having one answer that actually solves everything. So we provide the strategic advice, convening power, we build the relationships and collaboration, and we build the capacity for people to be able to trust and work together.
Right, and you're working throughout the world. Let us know about how Synergos working throughout the world and what are the major priorities and issues.
So the work that we do in Bangladesh seems very different because it's drowning prevention, and we don't do drowning prevention anywhere else. There are other organizations that are drowning prevention experts, and we certainly are not one of them. Nor are we experts necessarily in agriculture, health and nutrition, social connectedness, but those are actually all things that we work in very intimately. Our other programs, some of our other major programs include work in agriculture in Ethiopia and Nigeria. And in those two countries, we're working with the ministries of agriculture at their very senior-most level, and also with the broader set of stakeholders, whether they are agro-businesses, smallholder farmers, farmers union, input providers. And it's all in service of what the government has sought from Synergos, which is to help them overcome some of the challenges in addressing in advancing their agricultural goals for improved economic development. So in Ethiopia and Nigeria, we work on agriculture. In Namibia, we work on health and nutrition primarily, helping the government to realize its goals for improved nutrition among its children. And providing, working with the Ministry of Health and Social Services and other stakeholders through this work that Synergos has helped to provide to support. Namibia is one of the kind of well-recognized members of the UN Scaling Up Nutrition Movement. In South Africa, we work on issues of children and social isolation. Bringing together at a regional level different organizations to...
What do you mean by social isolation?
So social isolation is, in terms, we don't only work on issues that are directly linked to economic development. It's also recognizing that the development of any country or society, really also, part of it is also the social and emotional well-being. And this work started first with some of the work that we did with orphans and vulnerable children, and it's expanded from that to address the needs of children more broadly, and helping them to establish the connections and kind of highlighting some of the indigenous practices that have since receded, in order to build the resilience and connection in order to be able to be more active participants in society. And this has been really groundbreaking work that we've been doing with support of some of our partners, including the Family Foundation, which is based in Canada. And with them, they've also been leading some of the efforts to make this really a global movement. So that gives you an example of some of the breadth of our work. We also work in Latin America on economic equality and in improving education in one of the poorest states of Brazil.
So you're very busy working throughout the world. On this point of discussion, we have to go for a break. We'll come back and know more about you. দর্শক, কথা বলছিলাম সেনেগালের পুরো বিশ্ব জুড়ে যে কাজ হয়, কি কাজ করছে তারা সে বিষয়ে আলোচনার এই পর্যায়ে একটা বিরতি নিচ্ছি, সাথে থাকুন, ফিরছি একটু পর। আমন্ত্রণ নির্ভরতা মুখোমুখিতে কথা বলছিলাম সিনারগোজের প্রোগ্রাম পরিচালক চং লিমরির সাথে। Welcome to the show once again. So throughout the world you've been working on different issues. What are the major challenges you face? Because in each country we're working in different issues, which different government and different people and different strategy, different plan. Probably, as you said, you don't go for the implementation, but you have to make the plan for the implementation. So how challenging is this?
It can be kind of challenging, and as I said, we're not experts in many of these fields. There are certainly people who know a lot more about this than we do. What we are experts in is building the capacity to be a bridging leader. And what we mean by a bridging leader is somebody who's able to transcend some of the divides in society, whether that is has to do with class, sector, and religion, to be able to reach out and form the coalitions and collaborations that are necessary. So that's where our expertise lies, and we're able to tap into and leverage the expertise on subject matters that already exist.
So which is the challenging part of your work?
What is the challenging part?
I mean, which part or which work is the most challenging for you? Maybe with Ethiopia, maybe with Bangladesh, maybe or South Africa. Which one is most challenging? And you are like really excited doing the particular work.
Well, I have to say, I mean, in some ways, the more challenging it is, the more exciting it can be too. And I wouldn't say that there is anything that's I would characterize solely as being most challenging. Certainly, everything is dynamic, and it's always and in particular, political situations can change, and so a project that may seem like is really advancing well and smoothly, if something happens, evolves in the country, or if there's a particular conflict with one of our partner organizations, then of course that's going to pose a new challenge. But we're an organization that has been doing this work we've been Synergos has been around for 30 years. We've been doing this direct work with our projects for about 15 years, and so this is not something that is that's new to us. And we have these challenges, and we find ways to work around them.
Right. So if you do a comparative analysis of your projects in different countries in Bangladesh, how you see or how you want to see the progress in coming days?
Yeah. Well, what we want to see, what we have for our goal for ourselves is to be able to identify sustainable models for a center-based approach that will reduce child deaths from drowning, child deaths for children under 5 and drowning. And so we're looking to identify the sustainable models and to build a support around it, particularly with government and also with other actors in support of those models, and we would prioritize high-risk areas for implementation of these models.
Right. So, say for example in Ethiopia, you're working with the agricultural sector, and you have to understand the local community feelings, senses, and stuff like that. In terms of that particular understanding coming to Bangladesh, how do you feel? Because people say this country is very hospitable. I mean, they love to receive guests. But when they talk about the crisis, the people trying to either hide themselves or trying to get away, they don't want to hear about this problem, or they don't want to understand. How you look at these issues?
How do we look at the cross-learning between different countries?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. We have amazing staff, and our staff are always we don't use so I, for example, I'm not leading the work in Bangladesh. We have an amazing local team, and we have that in all the countries where we work. And so that's part of the strength of being a global organization, so that you can connect with the experiences of being of what your colleagues in other countries and other projects are doing in order to bring the relevant lessons back to your work as well. And that's part of, I hope, some of what I can serve in my role in the organization as somebody who is not Bangladeshi, who is not a drowning expert,
right.
And is based in New York. And I think that's really important, because then it's through that exchange of information and knowledge that you're able to identify and have those kind of aha moments for real innovation that's needed to move forward when things seem stuck.
That's really interesting, but we have to take another break and then we'll come back and talk more. দর্শক, যাচ্ছে একটা বিরতিতে, সাথে থাকুন, ফিরছি একটু পর। আমন্ত্রণ আরো একবার নিরল টাটা মুখোমুখিতে কথা বলছিলাম চং লিম লির সাথে, পরিচালক, program Synagogues. Welcome to the show, and for the last time. As Bangladesh is like going to be a middle income country very soon, so donation or grant, such things getting these things will be a big challenge. Do you work on these issues and also share the things with the government? I mean, how we can sort of mismatch and work together?
Yeah, it's really one of the key reasons why we're here. It's recognizing that as Bangladesh becomes a middle-income country, which is so phenomenal, there are new challenges that get presented. And so our work in drowning prevention is really focused on the sustainability of these models of daycare and ECD programs for children, and helping with the government to identify what are the ways to make these models sustainable. Recognizing that donor funding is not going to continue to be flowing in
right.
the same way. And sustainability is important, because it's one thing to have a project here and there, but we're talking about communities and their continued lives.
And government has to take the lead.
Yes, government has to take the lead, especially in this changing scenario. And I'm sure that that's not an easy thing to try to figure out. And so we want to work with the government to identify, how do we make this real? What are the ways that we can work with others in order to identify models that are cost effective, that government can take up in order to ensure the sustainability of this approach.
We are almost about to end the show. If I'm not wrong, this is your second visit to Bangladesh, right? So do you had any chance to, apart from the meeting, visiting the fields or?
Yeah, unfortunately not. And you know, this is only my second meeting, but I have other colleagues who have been actually traveling here and have been part of some of the pre-work with Bloomberg Foundation, who have been here many more times than I have, and have actually, you know, traveled more to the field. So a lot of what I see is relayed to me from our colleagues and our partners, and it's hard to not feel connected to that, even if it's just through the words.
But anyways, I hope you can go to field and you can see your policy will be implemented soon, and the numbers will go down. That's very important.
Yes, that's our primary aim.
Right, and thank you so much for coming to the show and sharing your knowledge and information. I believe the way you work, this will work out, and we can sort of look at the numbers in coming days come to one single digit.
Great, thank you, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
দর্শক, আমরা কথা বলছিলাম অনেক কিছু নিয়ে, আমরা কথা বলছিলাম ড্রাউনিং প্রিভেনশন নিয়ে, আমরা কথা বলছিলাম সিনাগোজের বিশ্বব্যাপী যে পরিক্রমা কিংবা যে পরিকল্পনাগুলো তারা কাজ করছে সেগুলো নিয়ে। মুখোমুখি আজকে এখানে শেষ করছি, দেখা হবে মুখোমুখি অন্য কোনো পর্বে।